Imagine for a moment that you could transform your entire approach to money. I'm not just talking about balancing your checkbook or getting a better interest rate, though those are good things. I'm talking about a fundamental shift in how you view money, lifting the burden it often brings and replacing it with a sense of peace, purpose, and even joy. How often have you struggled with the stress of financial decisions, wondering if you're making the right choices or living with a scarcity mindset that overshadows the abundance around you? We've all been there. We pinch pennies, chase paychecks, and sometimes let money rule our lives, creating a whole lot of worry in the process. But what if there were a different way? A path not about accumulating wealth for wealth's sake, nor depriving ourselves in unnecessary guilt, but about true stewardship, rooted in timeless wisdom. This journey of transformation began for me through the words of the Bible, uncovering lessons that weren't just financial tips, but profound, life-changing truths. Today, I'll share 7 of those verses with you. The first verse that radically changed my perspective on money is found in Haggai chapter 2, verse 8. "The silver is mine and the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty." This verse carries such awe, reminding us that everything, our resources, time, and even our talents, ultimately belongs to God. We can get so caught up in the idea of my money, my possessions, that we forget the source. We start to believe we've earned it all on our own, that we have complete control. But this verse brings us back to a place of humility. When I truly understood that I am merely a steward, a manager of what God has entrusted to me, a weight lifted, suddenly decisions about spending, saving, or giving were no longer about my own efforts alone. They became part of my relationship with God. It's like being handed the keys to a brand new car, not to own, but to care for. You wouldn't run it into the ground, neglect the maintenance, or drive it recklessly. You treat it with respect, knowing it wasn't truly yours to begin with. That's how I began to see my finances. The second verse that transformed my view on money is found in Philippians chapter 4, verse 12. "I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want." Contentment isn't something you stumble upon in a sale aisle or win in a lottery ticket. This verse was a reminder that contentment doesn't come from what we possess or don't possess. It's a learned inner peace rooted in God. We live in a world obsessed with more stuff, more money, more status. It's a never-ending cycle that leaves us feeling empty and dissatisfied. But true contentment, the kind that brings lasting joy, comes from a deeper place. When we practice gratitude for what we have, big or small, we begin to shift our focus from what's lacking to what's already present in our lives. We start to see the abundance around us. The love of family and friends, the beauty of nature, the simple joys that money can't buy. And when we detach our sense of self-worth from external possessions, we find that contentment grows naturally. It's no longer about keeping up with the Joneses, but about being comfortable in our own skin, grateful for who we are and what we have. Contentment isn't about settling for mediocrity or giving up on our dreams. It's about finding joy in the journey, regardless of our circumstances. It's about trusting that God will provide for our needs, even when those needs look different than what the world tells us we should want. Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." This verse addresses a core truth about human nature. The desire for more can often become insatiable. What consumes your thoughts? What do you spend most of your time and energy pursuing? Is it financial security, material possessions, or the approval of others? There's nothing wrong with wanting a comfortable life or providing for your family. But when those desires define our worth and dictate our every move, we've crossed a line. This verse challenges us to examine our hearts and ask, what are we truly chasing after? Is it money, possessions, or something far greater? Chapter 4. The fourth verse that impacted my financial journey is Luke 16:11. "So, if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches?" This verse reminded me that money, and how we use it, is very much part of our spiritual journey. What we do with our money, how we earn, save, or spend, can either reflect love, generosity, and trust in God, or a constant pursuit of control and power. It's easy to compartmentalize our faith and our finances. We might sing hymns on Sunday morning and then spend the rest of the week chasing after the almighty dollar, forgetting that our financial decisions have spiritual implications. But this verse reminds us that God cares about every aspect of our lives, including our finances. He sees how we handle money, not just as a measure of our financial savvy, but as a reflection of our hearts. Are we using our resources to bless others, to further His kingdom? Or are we clinging tightly to what we have, driven by fear and greed? When we view money through a spiritual lens, we begin to see it as a sacred trust, a means to live out our faith in tangible ways. Chapter 5. The fifth verse that changed my perspective on work and finances is found in 1 Corinthians 3:9. For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. These words were a gentle reminder that God doesn't want us enslaved to work for work's sake, especially if it becomes an exhausting pursuit of wealth. Instead, we're invited to work God, not merely for money. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle, to believe that our worth is tied to our productivity or the size of our paycheck. We can become so focused on climbing the ladder of success that we miss the bigger picture. But this verse reminds us that our work, no matter how grand or seemingly insignificant, can be an act of worship, a way to partner with God in His work here on earth. When we view our work as a calling, as an opportunity to use our God-given talents and abilities to serve others and make a difference in the world, it changes everything. It's no longer just about earning a paycheck, it's about fulfilling a purpose. Chapter 6. The sixth verse that brought immense clarity to my financial life is Proverbs 22:7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. This verse brought clarity. Debt is not simply a financial issue. It's something that can affect our whole sense of freedom. Over time, I learned that by avoiding unnecessary debt and focusing on financial freedom, I could live with more peace. Debt has a way of creeping into our lives, whispering promises of instant gratification and a better life, but it always comes with a hefty price tag: interest payments, financial stress, and a sense of being trapped. This verse reminds us that when we're in debt, we're beholden to someone else. Our financial decisions are no longer entirely our own. We're limited in our choices, our ability to give generously, and sometimes even our ability to pursue our dreams. True financial freedom comes from living below our means, saving for the things we want, and being content with what we have. It's about breaking free from the shackles of debt and experiencing the peace of mind that comes from knowing we're in control of our finances, not the other way around. So if you're currently struggling with debt, know that you're not alone. There's hope, and there's a way out. Chapter 7. The final verse that cemented my transformed view of money is found in 1 Peter 4:10. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Stewardship isn't about the size of our resources. It's about the heart we bring to what we have. Whether with little or much, the call to stewardship remains the same: to handle our resources wisely, with integrity, and in line with God's purposes. It's easy to think that stewardship is only for the wealthy, that it's about managing large sums of money or making grand gestures of philanthropy. But the truth is, stewardship is for all of us, regardless of our income level or net worth. It's about recognizing that everything we have, our time, our talents, our possessions, are gifts from God, entrusted to our care. It's about being responsible and resourceful with what we've been given, using it to bless others and make a difference in the world. Stewardship starts with gratitude. It's about appreciating the abundance in our lives, even if it looks different from someone else's. It's about recognizing that we have enough and that we can use what we have to make a positive impact. These 7 verses transformed my life. They didn't just change how I viewed money, they changed how I viewed everything. This understanding transformed my daily approach to resources, teaching me that every small decision, from budgeting to giving, is an opportunity to honor God. Whether it's about money, time, or even talents, learning to steward well has been one of the most enriching and humbling lessons of all. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about taking those baby steps, day by day, to align our hearts and our actions with God's heart for generosity, for justice, and for using what we have to make a difference in the world. This shift from seeing money as mine to viewing it as part of a bigger God-given mission has brought a sense of freedom and fulfillment I never thought possible. Thank you for joining me on this journey through these powerful Bible verses. I hope they inspire you as much as they have inspired me. Remember, true wealth is not about how much we have, but how we use what we have to serve a greater purpose.